Post early for space. Questions. Number 1. Read the lines 11 and 12 from the poem. They will have perils to meet, but they will meet them, as the early settlers did on American shores. Why does the poet compare space travelers to the early settlers of America? A. To highlight the difficulties that the early settlers encountered when venturing into new places. B. To imply that the obstacles that early settlers faced discouraged them from exploring new lands. C. To suggest that the explorers will overcome the difficulties in space just as explorers in the past overcame their difficulties. D. To demonstrate that explorers will encounter the same challenges in space as explorers in the past did in other frontiers. Number 2. What does the final stanza of the poem suggest about the future? F. Some people will travel to other planets while others will choose not to. G. People who travel to other planets will no longer communicate with people living on Earth. H. Some people will regret their decision to remain on Earth. J. People who travel to other planets will want their family members on Earth to join them. Number 3. Read these lines from the poem. Once we were wayfarers, then seafarers, then airfarers. We shall be spacefarers soon. The progression from wayfarers to spacefarers demonstrates that people A. have made scientific discoveries while traveling to new places. B. have developed ways to explore new regions. C. select the mode of transportation that is most convenient. D. prefer some forms of transportation over others. Number 4. What do the descriptions of the future throughout the poem suggest about the speaker? F. He believes that people will be intimidated by the challenge of space travel. G. He feels confident that people will be able to travel easily through space. H. He assumes that living on another planet will be different from living on Earth. J. He accepts that space travel likely will be unavailable during his lifetime. 5. Which line from the poem best expresses the theme of the poem? A. Then spending a holiday month on the moon of Saturn. B. As the early settlers did on American shores. C. No strange, incredible, utterly different thing. Or D. And the old resolve to spread an expanding wing. Number 6. The title, which is a post early from space, is important to the poem because it represents F. The decision that people will soon have to make about traveling to space. G. People living in space sooner than expected because of new ways to get to space. H. The difficulties of sending mail from the Earth to space will be many. J. The technological advances that come from space. Number 7. Read the dictionary entry. Fanciful. 1. Quaint or whimsical in design. 2. Tending to indulge in fancy. 3. Created in fancy. Imaginary. Which definition most closely matches the word fanciful is used in line 5? A. Definition 1, which is quaint or whimsical in design. B. Definition 2, which is tending to indulge in fancy. Or C. Definition 3, created in fancy, imaginary. So now you're going to use what you also remember from the story we read last week. Can writers predict the future? 8. How are the descriptions of space travel different in the selection and the poem? F. The selection presents factual information about space travel, while the poem suggests what it will be like when people travel in space. G. The selection lists destinations humans may travel in space, while the poem gives details about how it feels to look at Earth from space. H. The selection primarily focuses on significant achievements in space travel, while the poem tells about the events that happened before space travel was possible. J. The selection explains how space travel will improve life on Earth, while the poem focuses on the difficulties of space travel. Number 9. With which statement would both the author of the selection and the poet most likely agree? A. The uncertainties of space travel make it unlikely that many people will want to leave Earth. B. It will be difficult to develop technology more advanced than it already is. C. Space travel will one day be a commonplace occurrence for many people. D. The creation of new technology is influenced by the technological described in science fiction books. Number 10. One difference between the selection and the poem is that only the selection presents the idea that F. People once doubted that the moon landing was possible. G. Space travel is a challenge that can be accomplished. H. People may one day travel to other planets. And J. The world looks very different from outer space. Number 11. Which idea about humankind is expressed in both the selection and the poem? Both of them. A. Humans have a desire to explore new frontiers. B. Humans' ability to accurately imagine the future is remarkable. C. Humans have developed new technologies sooner than predicted. D. Humans' ability to incorporate technology into daily tasks has made life easier. And number 12. Read this line from the poem. Friends departing to take up a post on Mars. Mars. This idea is most closely related to the idea of which person discussed from the selection. F. John F. Kennedy. G. Ray Bradbury. H. Jules Verne. J. H. G. Wells.